And good morning to you. Welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, which is brought to you by Mizuno Golf, Reach Beyond, by Club Car, the global leader in golf utility and fun personal vehicles, by RSM, proud sponsor of the RSM Classic coming up soon, giving back to our communities, by Bridgestone Golf, play the ball that fits you, and by Sea Palms Resort. Join today and improve your short game at the Miracle Practice Facility. Today on the show, we're going to talk with Global Golf Post's CEO, Jim Nugent, on how important Rory's 20th victory was for him and how a third-place finish for Ricky Fowler could have been even more important. Then we'll talk with Tom Abbott of the Golf Channel, Mercer grad, by the way, about his time there and his feelings about the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits and the upcoming 2023 event in Italy. Our first guest is Jim Nugent, CEO of Global Golf Post, an online free pub that comes out every Monday. Good morning, Jim, and welcome back to the show. Glad you're with us.
Rich, good morning, and thank you very much for having me on today.
It is always a pleasure, and it's always fun to kind of talk to you about some of the things that I get asked about a lot, and one of them is how important was this 20th win for Rory after his poor performance, according to him, at the Ryder Cup?
I think it was very important. It enabled him to finish the year with a kick and go into next year with a little bit of momentum. He's been kind of lost in the desert, really, for a while. We just haven't heard a lot from him. We haven't heard a lot from him, especially in majors. This was arguably the most promising young golf professional in the game at one time, and now he's 30 years old. He's married. He's about to have a child, and he's not in the conversation like he used to be. So it was an important way for him to make a statement at the end of the year, and hopefully it kickstarts the back end of his career beginning next year in 2022.
Yeah, I was reading in your pub about Ron Green's article on Rory and saying basically, which is true, he's underachieved the past couple of years, kind of, if you will, been in a slump.
He exploded on the scene as a youngster. He famously flamed out at the Masters and the first time that he got a taste of major championship golf, and then very quickly won a bunch of majors. He's on the precipice of winning the Grand Slam of golf if he could ever win the Masters. But really, I have to agree with Ron. We expected so much more based on what he did in his very early 20s, and he just hasn't met our expectations. He's made a boatload of money, and he's won some tournaments. But I think Ron's correct. It's just not what we all thought was coming.
Do you think, Jim, that sometimes winning a lot of money, getting a lot of endorsement deals kind of takes the aggressiveness out of your game, and you kind of just sometimes go through the motions because it's not necessarily about the money?
I think it works both ways. I think for some players, having that kind of comfort, knowing that, you're still going to be able to pay your bills if you don't play well because you got a lot in the bank, frees some athletes up and they shoot for pins and there's a carefree attitude about them. For others, it does take a little bit of the competitive edge off, and it gives them maybe a level of comfort that they didn't have when they were up and coming. So I think it can cut both ways. And with Rory, it's hard to say which way it did cut, but it would appear from afar that he got a little bit too comfortable. And maybe didn't put in the time and the effort that he once did.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I heard him say, I mean, he was disappointed at his play, very emotional at the Ryder Cup. And then he said, I just need to be me, play golf my way.
Yeah, I think that's true. Roy's like a lot of other players. His ears are too big. And what I mean by that is that he's got a lot of people whispering in his ear, you should do this, you should try this. I think Roy's best when he closes those ears down and he just goes and plays golf. He's such an instinctive player. He's such a great feel player. Just ignore what the media is saying. Don't listen too much to instructors. Just go play golf.
Yeah, and that's you said something interesting. I mean, when you kind of go through the motions and you're trying to correct things that may not need to be corrected, many of the top golfers, Tiger included, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler again, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But a lot of these top golfers win a lot, make a lot of money, and then all of a sudden start to tweak some of the basics, and it doesn't work for them.
No, we've seen that time and time again where it especially happens oftentimes with athletes, golfers, when they change equipment. They take a paycheck from an equipment company because they've achieved some level of success, and all of a sudden they've got to relearn their equipment, their clubs, the ball, how the clubs and the ball relate to each other. That may be the case with Rory. He was a longtime Titleist player before he changed his equipment several years ago. That may be a factor in what he's been going through. But I think Rory was very, very spot on when he said, I just have to beat me, because Rory, being me, is really, really good and maybe the best in the world.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, when he free swings, especially on his driver, and his iron game has usually always been good. Putting, obviously you have a good day putting, that always helps. But it just seems like he's been not as free with his swing like he used to be. Hopefully that comes back after this win.
I agree with you. And for him, tee to green, I'm not sure there's a better player in the game. For him, it's the short club. It's the flat blade on the greens. When he putts well, he can't be touched. When he doesn't putt well, he's just very, very average.
Yeah. All right. Lots of controversy this week. You talked about it in your publication on the USGA R&A rule on the length of the driver. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's much ado about nothing.
I agree with that.
The USGA in its press release said that the percentage of people that are playing drivers longer than 46 inches is minuscule. I don't think this is a big deal. I think there's much more to come yet as it relates to the regulation of golf clubs and golf balls. But I think this one was kind of a non-issue, despite the fact that a certain left-handed player who has made a boatload of money over his career and is now 51 years old wanted to make a big deal out of it.
Why do you think he wanted to make such a big deal about it? I mean, he obviously drives the ball well. I mean, was it just trying to make a big deal out of nothing?
If he's not in the conversation, he's not happy.
So it was just a much ado about nothing. Gotcha. But if they did allow those drivers, it would only affect a very 10% of the players that are usually in the field.
Not even 10%, Rich. A much lower percentage than that. It's really these long shafted drivers are part of the long drive circuit,
right?
And those people are not the people that you and I and your listeners watch on television on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Whenever I go take a lesson, my coach usually says, get closer to the ball. I don't need to be farther away with one of those long drivers.
Yeah, I've never tried one. I have no
either.
desire to try one.
Nope.
I can't imagine trying to swing something that's 48 inches. It's over my pay grade.
It's over my capabilities. Come on. What do you think about the Bones JT announcement? And, JT splitting with his caddy, Jimmy Johnson. And I love that Bones is back. And what a great choice to go back with JT.
Well, if you're going to pick a player, you can't do a whole lot better than Justin Thomas,
no.
who, still I think has many victories and major championships in front of him, and is an outstanding young man with a lot of character and an awful lot of game. Caddies and players parting ways, it's part of it. JT did not have, by his standards, a good year, even though he won the Players Championship. His instructor is his father, so he can't fire his instructor.
Right.
he wanted to make a change, and so once again the guy on the bag took a fall. I disagree with you on one respect, though. I'm not happy about this because I thought Bones was a wonderful addition to television coverage. He had a point of view that he wasn't afraid to express. He had a vantage point over all these years that was remarkable, and he was able to share that with television viewers. So I think it's a loss for us as fans, but probably a good thing for Bones and a good thing for JT.
I agree with you on the announcing. I think him and John Wood have just made a great pair of being on the golf course and giving their perspective from a place that they have been many times and what might be going through the golfer's head. Does this fact that Bones has come back with JT kind of put another question mark to him and Phil splitting up, do you think? Because Bones said his knees were bad and he wasn't quite sure that he could do that again for a long time?
I don't think we'll ever know the real story about Phil and Bones. I think it was a cumulative situation over a long period of time. And I think it went beyond the relationship with Phil. I think there were family issues there that also came to bear on the situation. So we'll never know. And to both of their credit, neither of them are talking about it, and life moves on.
Yeah, but it's still, people gossip. They love to hear the real story. And sometimes, even when they say it, we're not sure that it's the real story.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Jim, we got to take a quick break, but we're going to come back with Jim Nugent, Global Golf Post CEO, right after this on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Please stay with us.
Blair O'Neill here with Cobra Puma, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys Show.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. We're on the phone with Jim Nugent, Global Golf Post. Jim, we were talking about Bones and Tiger, and let's talk a little bit about Tiger. What can you tell us about the new Tiger Woods design course that's going to open up at Pebble Beach?
The short course, the hay course?
Yes.
He took at Pebble Beach, just out across the street from the pro shop, there has always been a little 9-hole golf course called the Hay Course, Hay, and it really kind of didn't fit there. People didn't use it. It wasn't really community based. It was just kind of there. And Pebble Beach retained Tiger to go in and fix it really and turn it into something that could be a real community asset and have some appeal to kids, not so much guests of the resort, although that's certainly a trend that you're seeing, that places like Bandon Dunes and Pinehurst have advanced 9-hole courses that people can play before or after they've played 18 regulation holes. And by all accounts, Tiger went in and did a spectacular job. The conditioning is brilliant. The views of the area are spectacular. Apparently, he gets 2 thumbs up for his efforts in revitalizing what has historically been an important asset at Pebble Beach.
Yeah, I was just finding it very interesting that he was out there doing that. The PGA announced, and you and I kind of talked about this before, the $40 million PIP program, and then announced that they would not reveal what tour players won and the order of which they did win. Your thoughts on that?
You know, it's one of those areas where the tour, I think, can't get out of its own way. I don't know how you announce a program like that and then don't tell fans who won how much.
I agree.
It's not inconsistent with how the tour behaves from time to time. They never discuss penalties or fines for slow play or for misbehavior. From time to time at the PGA Tour, there's just not the kind of transparency that you'll find in some other leagues and other sports.
Yeah, it kind of seems like if you look at it, the way that you and I feel about this announcement of not announcing it, likes they want a lot, but they don't want to give out a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's they march to the beat of their own drummer.
Right.
I have a great deal of respect and admiration for the work that Jay Monahan does, but I don't agree with all of the policies and some of the things that the tour does. Not so much as it relates to their treatment of the media, but just communicating with their fan base.
Yeah, and I was, looking at, and there was obviously an article who people are basing their opinions on what they think on this PIP program. Many think that Tiger obviously was the leader in that, but also there was, talk of Ricky, Phil, Brooks, Bryson. I'm sure the feud or the whatever they call it also was on the list. It just seems like they're rewarding their top players for talking about what's going on in everyday life and what maybe not be going on in their personal life. Who knows?
Well, there's no question about that. This is aimed at the truly elite players, but the truly elite players, and we're going to hear more about this in the next several weeks to come, are the target of a potential new tour that's emanating from Saudi Arabia. And going back to Palmer and Nicklaus and Player and down through Greg Norman and Tiger, the truly elite players, the top 4 or 5 in the game, have always felt that they haven't gotten enough credit, enough recognition for what they bring to the pro game. And so this was an effort by Jay and the tour to assuage those top 4 or 5 really elite players, encourage them to engage with fans and be more forthcoming, but also to keep them on the home base and not be looking around to go play on a new upstart tour.
Do you think that these players are actually looking over their shoulder to kind of see what the Saudi Arabian tour is going to bring next, or what they may add to the package in order to entice them? And do you really think it has a chance of getting any of the elite players to come and play their events?
Well, to answer your question, in the short run, no, I don't think it has a chance of attracting any of the top players, because the tour has made it clear if you go and play this tour, you are banned for life from the PGA Tour. I'm not sure that any player is willing to, it's the equivalent of investing in a startup company. It might work, it might not. Going to take a chance, but on the PGA Tour, you don't have to take a chance. You're established. And you can play golf well into your 40s, and then if you want to keep playing, go play the Champions Tour. So at the moment, I don't think that anything's going to change. But I do believe that the Saudis are serious. I do believe they have a long-term vision. I do believe they have a lot of patience, and I do know that they've got a lot of money. So they're going to be taken seriously, but I don't think at the moment.
Yeah, and, bottom line on the PGA Tour being banned for life, I mean, let's just say, for example, that Brooks Koepka decided that he was going to go. Do you honestly think that Jay Monahan and the tour will stick to their guns of saying you're banned for life, or would they ease it later on? I know it's hard to tell. You're just kind of making, an opinion or a thought. But do you think that they would stick to it about not letting him back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Without question.
Okay. All right. Big question. I know this is a biggie. Do you think Tiger will play again on the PGA Tour?
I don't have an answer to that, and I don't know. And, the Tiger camp is notoriously quiet. Nobody said a word, but I do have a scenario, and this is my own, and I'm not on a soapbox about this, but I could see Tiger Woods trying to rehabilitate his body and coming back and trying to win the United States Senior Open when he turns 50, to become the first player ever to win 4 USGA major championships: the US Junior, the US Amateur, the US Open, and the US Senior Open. And wouldn't that make a fabulous story? And then maybe he says, "Thank you, it's been great. I'll see you later."
Yeah. Interesting scenario, and it makes sense. All right, who do you think is in the discussion for Ryder Cup captain for 2023 in Italy? I've heard Tiger, I've heard Phil, I've heard Freddie Couples, Zach Johnson. Who knows?
Well, the scenario that and I'm not close to it, so I really don't know. And very few people are close to it and know. So anybody that tells you that they know what's going on, check them at the door.
Yeah, they don't.
The scenario that I've heard that makes the most sense is this: that they want Mickelson and Poulter to be the respective captains, not in 23, but in 25, I guess it is, at Bethpage in New York City.
Interesting.
And therefore, it looks like Zach Johnson will take a one-term stint in 23 that's played in Italy. Zach was an assistant captain. He's highly regarded in the circles of people that make these selections. So I think it's kind of a stub year, if you will. It's kind of between captaincies, but that also presumes that Phil doesn't align himself with this coming new tour from Saudi Arabia, because if he does, I'm quite sure that his Ryder Cup captaincy will vanish immediately.
And why do you think Phil's interested in the Saudi Arabian thing? It can't be for money, or could it?
Well, at the end of the day, it's always about money, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I had a theory advanced to me the other day by somebody who's pretty close to the tour, and it's an interesting one. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'll share it with you and your listeners. Phil Mickelson spent the vast majority of his career in the shadows of Tiger Woods. He was always the next guy. And if he were to align himself and become the champion of this proposed new tour, he'd be breaking out from that shadow of Tiger Woods and doing something that he thinks is important and maybe meaningful for the game of golf, and doing it on his own. I don't know if that's true, but I'll go back to my original statement. It's kind of always about the money.
Yeah, and don't you think, is it the money is not enough in the Champions Tour where he's won 3 out of 4? Is that not enough of him to be the guy that everybody's talking about now on the Champions Tour, now that Tiger's quite a distance away from even being there?
I think, it's been a nice run in his early days on the Champions Tour. I think he would find it to be really boring.
Okay.
He's winning too quickly. He's winning too easily. I think he would get bored and say, well, this isn't any fun. I also think that he's got a television career. Most people in golf believe that he's got a television career in front of him, that he could become the next Johnny Miller.
Interesting.
That's not going to happen if he aligns himself with this proposed new tour. So he's got a lot on his plate to digest right now.
And wouldn't it be interesting for Bones to go back to caddying and then Phil to go from playing golf to taking over what Bones was doing? Interesting. All right, last question. PGA show. What do you think it's going to look like in January? I've heard, and I've talked to a couple of manufacturers, one specifically, and I won't name it, who says they're not going. They will not be at the PGA show. And they said they know others that are saying the same.
Well, first of all, I do believe that there's going to be a PGA merchandise show in January in Orlando.
Yes, I agree with you.
Provided that conditions don't flare up and it gets really weird in January with COVID. It's going to be a very different show, a slimmed down show, both from a exhibitor participation base as well as an attendee base. It's a bridge to 23, when I think the PGA show will remake itself. Yeah, there's all kinds of stories about which manufacturers are coming and which aren't, and the PGA of America and the exhibiting company Reed haven't said who's in and who's out.
Right.
The companies themselves are being very closed-mouthed about it. There will be a show, and it just isn't going to look anything like it once did.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It'll be interesting to see. I'm planning on going, but not sure what I'm going to find when we get there. Jim, as always, thank you for being with us. I appreciate your openness, frankness, and sharing your opinions. Have a great weekend.
Rich, thanks for having me on. Have a good day.
You too. Our next guest coming up is Golf Channel's Tom Abbott. We're going to be talking to him live from London. But we want to talk to you live about, if your kids have a birthday party, what are you thinking about? Try something different at CJ's Italian Restaurant in the village across from Parker's. They can have their own birthday party where they make their own pizzas. They decide what they want in them, whatever that is. And Graham and the staff will sit there and they'll make the pizzas and the kids will eat them. And then they also have elementary school specials where the kids come up and the schools come up with a pizza that they like. The kids help with that. And if you go in and order one of those, part of the proceeds goes back to those schools. Always great to help the community. Family owned and operated business. Most of their food is made in the kitchen from scratch every morning, including the doughs, the breads, the sauces, dressings, toppings, and the list goes on and on. Very, very easy to order. All you got to do is call them up, go online, check out their full menu. And when you go and pull into one of the special spots right in front of their location, across from Parker's, you will be able to pick up and they'll see you, come out, bring your food. It's that easy. Check out their full menu at cjsitalianrestaurant.com. Hey, Tom. Good morning.
Hi, how you doing? I'm just going to put these
Fine.
headphones in.
All right. Would you do me a favor before we go on the air? Would you do a promo for me and say Tom Abbott with the Golf Channel, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show?
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
You just let me know when.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Is the audio okay?
Audio's fine.
Okay. Back Nine Boys Radio Network.
Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Golf Show. In 3, 2, and 1. Hi, this is Tom Abbott from the Golf Channel, and you are listening to Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Is it the Back Nine Boys?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that one more time. In
Okay.
3, 2, and 1. Hi, this is Tom Abbott from the Golf Channel, and you are listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Thank you.
Sure. Just test my headset. Can you hear me?
This is Carter Collins, head men's golf coach at Georgia Southern University, and you're listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. Our next guest is Tom Abbott, a Mercer grad and currently in London and working with the Golf Channel. Good morning, Tom, and welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
It's great to be with you. Thanks, Rich.
I did not know you were going to be in London, but it's afternoon there.
It is just past 1:30, afternoon. Saturday afternoon in London. And guess what? It's cloudy and a little chilly.
No.
Yeah, I know that's shocking.
And probably Orlando, it's sunny and probably 85 degrees.
Yeah, I think it's pretty warm in Orlando. I'm going to Orlando next week, so I'll get some sunshine. Yeah.
All right. After Mercer, you were in TV a little bit. How did you get the job with the Golf Channel?
Well, I think you need a lot of luck in television. I certainly had a bit of luck during my time, on my road to Golf Channel. But I worked in Virginia for a year after I graduated Mercer. I worked in a small television station in Charlottesville, Virginia, which was a beautiful part of the world, and learned a lot about television. And I then went to work for Golf Channel. At the time, they had a channel in the UK that aired. It was broadcast from Orlando, but it was airing in the UK, and so it was quite a good fit for me. And I went to work primarily on that channel, doing a bit of work behind the scenes and a little bit of work on air. And then quickly over the first several months, I really wanted to be on air full time, and it just kind of worked out for me.
Well, you played golf at Mercer, and did you decide after college that golf was not going to be a career, that you thought television was where you needed to go? Obviously, that's what you decided to do, but did you not think golf could be a career?
Well, I mean, I suppose I had a pipe dream in the beginning that golf could be a career in terms of playing, but that was quickly quashed, I think, when I came to America. I just didn't hit the ball far enough. I was far too inconsistent. And I sort of quickly discovered that college golf was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. But it worked out very well for me. I got into doing TV and media at Mercer, and sort of scaled back my golf. Learned a lot about living in that part of the world, and met some really good people. And the golf down there is great. I mean, you look at some of the courses that we had a chance to play. I mean, very different than what I grew up on here in the London area. But yeah.
Yeah, the golf courses are quite different from where you are now and to where you live in Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game is very much in the air and carrying the ball a long way, and that was not something that I was used to here in the UK. Certainly not in the summertime, when the courses are firm and fast. It's not really about how far you hit it; it's about controlling the distance. But I think over there, certainly when the golf courses are soft, distance is such a big key, and carrying the ball. In college, I mean, the college golfers hit it the farthest of any of the players, in terms of, you look at Korn Ferry, PGA Tour, it's the college guys that seem to hit it the longest. Maybe not if you compare them to Bryson, but those guys hit it a long way. And I think that college game was really beginning to take off in terms of distance when I started in 2000. And since then, the distance game has really taken over in that sphere. And I didn't hit it very far. That was the problem.
Well, that's one of my issues as far as not trying to make it on the tour too. So my putts are usually farther. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So you've covered the LPGA, which has been quite an honor, I'm sure, for years. How has that tour changed over the years since you started covering it?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think it was pretty international when I started covering it. I started full time really on the LPGA tour in about 2010. So I've been out there 11 years now. It was always a pretty international tour since Sayri Park came onto the scene, and that really opened the floodgates for players from Korea. And I think there were players from Europe that were always sort of hanging around over the last 30 years or so. But I think now it went through a really rough patch when I was first starting out, after the 2008 downturn in the economy, and the LPGA really struggled. They were in trouble for a little while. And I think since then it's just bounced back slowly over time. I mean, I think the structure of the tour has changed quite a bit. The fact there are 5 major championships now, the Evian, the Amundi Evian Championship becoming a major. There's going to be a change with what was the ANA Inspiration, the one they play out in the desert where they jump into Poppy's Pond. That's going to be moving to Texas, and Chevron is taking over the sponsor. So that's going to be a big change. But I think over the course of my sort of time out there, the major championships have really developed, and that's continuing, with what I just talked about. But the KPMG Women's PGA has been a huge change for the tour. They've put a lot of money in. They're taking it to the great courses in the US. And then AIG, the insurance company, is sponsoring the AIG Women's Open, which was the Women's British Open. Right. And that's being taken to some of the best courses in the UK and potentially Ireland in the future. So, I think that is one of the biggest changes. And the money, there's more money out there. The LPGA is going to play for 1.5 million first prize at the end of the season here in a few weeks' time at the CME Group Tour Championship. That's a big deal. Yeah, they did pay for $1 million back in 08, 07, I think, when they had the ADT Championship, and that was a big deal. But then that went away. So CME coming in and putting up big money at the end. So financially it's changed for these players, but there's still a long way to go with some of the smaller events that are kind of being left behind. I think that's one thing that the new commissioner has to work on.
And your comments about the new commissioner. I mean, what state do you think the LPGA? I know Mike Wan has left it in great shape. Have you had discussions with the new commissioner about what her ideas are as far as where the tour is going?
I've met her a couple of times, but only sort of in social settings. The first time I met her was actually at the party to celebrate the win for the European team at the Solheim Cup, which is not really the best place to meet a new commissioner at sort of midnight. But she was there, obviously celebrating with them and wishing them all the best. But we were, we were at a party together. It looks like I only go to parties, isn't it? But I was at a function in Portland and had a brief chat with her there, but we haven't really talked about anything seriously. But I think, she has a lot to learn. I think she will say that, the first part of her tenure is going to be learning the tour. She's come from collegiate athletics, which is very different than running a major sports league. I mean, as you know, in Georgia, college sports is huge, but it's a very different way of doing business, and you've got a lot of backers and donors and alums that really want to be involved. And obviously, that's so different when it comes to the LPGA, which is an international organization with money coming in from all over the world. So I think she's going to have a lot to learn in the beginning, and then it'll be a case of shaping her legacy and what she thinks the tour needs to do. And a new television deal, which is starting next year, which Mike Wan negotiated along with the PGA Tour. So she's inheriting a television deal, which is always a little bit awkward for a commissioner because they can't really control the language of that contract because it's already been set. And then dealing with sponsors and renewals and all sorts of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that the public doesn't really see. And those are very difficult. You could have a couple of sponsors that want to pull out, and you've got to try and negotiate them staying, and all that sort of behind the scenes stuff is really, really important. And she's going to be learning the ropes there, I think.
Well, I hope that I'm sure it'll work out, but it's probably a good thing that Mike Wan negotiated the contract, being that she came from collegiate to now negotiating TV contracts. Probably a good thing. She'll probably learn some things. As you said, she's going to have to go through some education and some firsts for the first 18 months, it seems.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, and also the staffing. I mean, as we all know, when the leadership of an organization changes, they sometimes want to bring in their own people and make changes within the staffing. So I have no idea what's going to happen on that level, but as we all know, and I'm sure people at the LPGA are fully aware of that, that could happen. So, and who knows? I mean, it's going to be very interesting, but it's definitely a learning curve. It's a huge step up for her, but she's a good golfer. I actually saw her playing in the Pro-Am at the Cognizant Founders Cup, and she's got a great golf swing. She's played golf since she was very young, and it really shows. And that's a big boost, I think, for a commissioner of a golf organization, a golf tour. To be able to play golf is pretty important because you're going to be able to go out and play with sponsors and feel comfortable out there. And there are going to be times where you're going to be under the spotlight. Doesn't mean you have to be a pro or playing great golf, but in actually be able to get it round and not have any issues. And that's very apparent with her game. So I think that's going to be a big plus for Molly.
Do you play in any of the Pro-Ams, Tom, to show your skills from Mercer?
There was a time, Rich, where I played a lot, and I was getting a hard time from my colleagues. They thought I was playing too many Pro-Ams. And that has scaled back, actually. I don't get invited as much anymore. But I'm going to play in the Pro-Am at the CME Group Tour Championship, the Rolex Pro-Am down there. So that'll be fun. And I've played in that every year for the last several years. I did play in the BMW PGA Championship Pro-Am at Wentworth on the European Tour, which was actually one of the scariest experiences I've had in the game. There were about 25,000 people watching because there are a lot of celebrities in the field, local sort of celebrities in the UK. And I hit a person and a car, not with the same shot, I should add. And it was a BMW that I hit, which was good, I suppose, in keeping with the sponsors. But it was so intimidating playing with all those people lining the ropes. But it gave you a great perspective of what the players have to deal with. And of course, they don't see it. Their focus is right down the fairway. They don't even notice the galleries. And I was very lucky in 2009 to play in the Dunhill Links which is a European Tour event played over Carnoustie, Kingsbarns, St Andrews, and the Old Course. Yeah. So I was very lucky. I partnered Mikko Ilonen, the Finnish player, there, and that
Well,
was an
we're going to
amazing
have to
experience.
take a quick break, and you know about breaks, and we're going to come back with Tom Abbott of the Golf Channel right after we talk about Mizuno Golf has always had the best irons in the game. And with the JPX 921 series, they offer feel and performance to suit players of all skill levels. The new STG 220 driver offers maximum adjustability with a combination of 3 tracks and 2 movable weights. You can complete your bag with our brand new T22 wedges featuring 3 finishes, 4 unique sole grinds to improve your short game. Check out all that is new at Mizuno at MizunoGolf.com. Nothing feels like Mizuno. Reach beyond.
Hey, this is Claude Pope, owner of Bald Head Blues clothing brand out of Bald Head Island, North Carolina, and you are listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. We're on the phone from London with Tom Abbott of the Golf Channel. Tom, you've had a great opportunity in this business. I mean, you do LPGA. You've also covered some of the majors, all of the majors, obviously. But you were included in the Olympics. You were in some of the discussions, and then you had a chance to be there. How was that for you, knowing that the Olympics accepted golf back in 2016 after maybe a century?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty special to be there, and I'd not been to an Olympics before. I was really disappointed that I didn't get to go to the one in London in 2012. I was working at the time, and you know, it was just too busy. I couldn't go, and so I had never been to an Olympics. And I think what really stood out to me, it was a celebration of sport. You know, it was just a great celebration of athletes and the best at their particular sports all around the world, all coming together, and all of these sports happening at the same time. And I don't think we don't really get that sense when we're watching on television. It's just about, well, you know, I want to see who wins the 100 meters, or I want to see who wins the swimming. You don't really get a sense of how much it all sort of works together when you're there. And golf being part of that was very special, and it worked well. I know a lot of the men didn't go in 2016 for their own reasons, but the women supported it almost 100%. I think there were only 1 or 2 players that chose not to go who were eligible in 2016. Right. And then again in 2020, I mean, that was just a very difficult situation. I didn't go to Tokyo. I was in Stamford, Connecticut, where a lot of our Olympic production is based and will be for the upcoming Winter Olympics as well. So being part of that operation was amazing. I mean, the amount of effort that goes in behind the scenes is incredible, and it all comes together. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you got to do was one of my favorite shows was The Big Break. And Kip Henley is a good friend. I've talked to him many times. Character, see him here at the RSM caddying for various players that he's worked with. But that was just one of my favorite shows. I was sad to see it go, but I was also sad to see sometimes what the directions it was going with the NFL. It kind of broke from what I thought was popular, with the amateurs and these characters, Don Donatello and so on. What are your thoughts about Big Break? It was a great show. Do you want it to come back? Can it come back? Will it come back?
It can come back. Will it come back? I don't know. I mean, I think it was quite a surprise to everybody that was involved when the decision was made to not do the next series. And we were all kind of gearing up to get ready and go off and shoot the series, and then they decided to sort of pull the plug. And I think that there is some appetite for the show to come back, certainly from the public, and potentially from NBC. I mean, that's always something that is discussed. But will it happen? I don't know. I mean, I would love it to happen. I would love to be involved. It's something that's talked about, but getting it all together and financially making it happen, especially at the moment during COVID, I think that might be quite tough. But who knows in the future? But yeah, it was great to be involved. And as you say, we took it down some different roads. The NFL show we really thought would be a great success, and it was a good show, but it didn't really rate as highly as we had expected. And one thing with Golf Channel is that people want to watch golf. They want to watch golf, and they want to hear from golfers. And we the channel over the years has tried many different things with celebrities and trying to make it to a wider audience. But at the end of the day, I think it always comes back to the core golf fan, and serving that golf fan is really what we do best. So I think, as you say, the shows on Big Break that were about golf and those characters trying to play golf were the ones that were the most successful, and they were really good fun to be part of. And we went to some amazing places around the world. There's many great memories.
You did. Yeah, you did. I mean, one of the things I think that y'all made decisions about was not only their golfing ability, but sometimes, and we've got about 30 seconds, was their personalities. We all know there's odd personalities out there in the golf world, but you guys did have a few that I liked.
Yeah, and we tried to marry the personalities and the skills. Some producers wanted the great golfers, and others wanted the real characters, and it was a battle behind the scenes. And when they got it right, it was always a great show.
Tom, can't thank you enough for taking time on a Saturday afternoon in London. Thank you, and cheers.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Tom Abbott, Golf Channel, Mercer grad. Can't thank him enough. And also our other guest, Jim Nugent, CEO of Global Golf Post, publication you get free. It's great publication on Mondays. Just send them your email. Thank you for being with us on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, heard every Saturday and Sunday right here on ESPN Coastal from 8 to 9. We'll see you next week on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
You've been listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show with Rich Stiles. Go to back9boys.com for all things